Greetings, subscribers of Dallasboi1992's channel. What is up? My name's MegaWolfMan49, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a guest narration on Dallas's channel, and he asked me to do it today, and I almost said no, because I had a feeling in the back of my head that he would give me some match of him using some really obscure Pokemon, and then I would have to sit here pretending like I actually knew what he was doing. But that is not the case, and I just lied. I took it the second I got the opportunity. I just grabbed it, because Dallas is a cool guy, and I need exposure. So anyway, this is an OU match here that Dallas had against someone on Smogon named Lucy1, I believe was the full name. And this seems to be a pretty standard match. Getting into the team preview here, he's running a rain team. Dallas is running clear skies because he's cool. And on his end, he has two potential Scarfers in Crobat and Thunderous T. I'm more inclined to believe that Crobat would be the Scarfer, considering, it's lower tier, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Anytime I see anything that's lower tier and higher tiers, it's usually scarfed or choiced in some way. And then on Dallas' side, he has Rotom, Terrakion, and basically a bunch of threats. Leads on his end, it would make sense for him to either lead off with Politoed or with his Scarfer, just so he can U-turn / Volt Switch / set up Drizzle. So, yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into the battle. Let's get the show on the road! I just had to say that. I'm sorry. Anyway. So, he actually does lead off with his Crobat, which kind of suggests the fact that this thing is scarfed, as Dallas leads with his Rotom. So Dallas sets a hard switch here as opposed to going for the Volt Switch, and he goes into his Deoxys defense. I guess trying to eat whatever he wants to go for, and he actually does end up going for a U-turn, and that does do a pretty hefty amount of damage. So I'm not quite sure now. I mean, I really haven't seen this situation too many times, so I wouldn't know whether that was banded damage, but I'm assuming. I guess maybe it isn't, maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't, maybe it isn't, yes. So anyway, he U-turns out into his Politoed here, trying to set up the rain. And now he goes for the Hydro Pump as Dallas goes for the Taunt. Now the fact that he has a Hydro Pump suggests that he's an offensive variant, as opposed to the other ones that usually carry Scald or Surf. So he's actually going to go for the Hydro Pump and is able to take out Deoxys defense, which is quite unfortunate, which means no hazards for Dallas. So now he goes into his Rotom here, and because he knows he basically walls it. And now Dallas actually makes a pretty good double switch here. As his opponent goes into Ferrothorn, he actually ends up going into Gengar, who essentially walls this thing. So now because this is a Ferrothorn, he's either going to set up hazards or go for some kind of status move. And he actually does go for Leech Seed, which technically isn't a status move, but whatever. And Dallas predicts that pretty nicely, goes for the Substitute. And now he's just going to go for the Focus Blast, and this is going to do a lot of damage, which is awesome because Ferrothorn is annoying. And he goes for the Power Up here, and I do believe that is going to be able to break the sub quite easily, because, Gengar isn't exactly the most bulky thing out there, even though it's resisted, it doesn't really make a difference. So now, we're just having our moment in the middle of conflict, where people are trying to kill each other for people to eat their lunches. So, Dallas actually goes for the Focus Miss again, and misses, because Focus Miss. And he's actually his opponent's actually going to be able to set up her rocks. I mean, I'm saying her because name's Lucy, obviously. So that is going to be kind of important, I guess, as Dallas is going to be easily able to take out the Ferrothorn with the third Focus Blast, luckily not missing it. So down goes the Ferrothorn. So this Gengar is already, starting to wreck things, and it's almost at full health. So now he brings in his Politoed here, and this thing is probably choiced in some way. I'm assuming, based on what I've seen in the battle, as Dallas goes into his Rotom to eat a Hydro Pump, and he actually ends up missing it, which I guess kind of makes a difference, maybe not really. So now he's going to switch out into his Zapdos, predicting the Volt Switch, but Dallas goes for another hard switch with Rotom, which is pretty much the third time he's done that. And that's actually a pretty dangerous move, considering the fact that if he had decided to stay in and go for the Hydro Pump just to see how much it would have done, Landorus T would have gotten smashed. So anyway, he sets up his rocks here, and rocks are very important because rocks are the most important move in the game. So it's actually going to work out pretty well for him later on. Anyway, so now he gets roared into Terrakion, which is basically the worst thing the Zapdos could have roared him into. And now Zapdos. Dallas is just going to go for the pretty obvious Stone Edge. No reason to over-predict, really. I mean, Stone Edge is just going to hurt whatever he brings in, so it doesn't really make a difference either way. So now he's going to switch out his Terrakion as he brings in his Gastrodon, and he goes into his Rotom again because Rotom pretty much walls this thing, with the exception of maybe if he Scalds and gets the burn. And speaking of which, he actually does end up getting that burn that we just talked about 5 seconds ago. So that's quite unfortunate for him. But it doesn't really matter in the long run, because if you tell from the way that Dallas is playing this Rotom, he hasn't gone through Volt Switch once. This is the 4th, 5th time maybe he brought it in. He hard switched every single time, which is, I guess, odd, but it worked out for him in most cases. So now he hard switches here into his Gengar, and Gengar eats the Skull successfully. And now he's going to go for the Disable, which is a really good move on Dallas' part, because now he's basically walled. This Gastrodon, that is walled by Gengar, because Scald is disabled, Earth Power isn't going to do anything, and I'm assuming it has Toxic, because I've seen most of them have Toxic, and Toxic isn't going to do anything at it. So this is a pretty good time right now for Dallas to go set up a substitute. It wouldn't have been better. Well, in this specific situation, it might have been better if he went straight for the Shadow Ball, but this was a safer move and the smarter move because, you know, scouting and stuff. And against normal Zapdoses, this would be the better move, definitely. So he's going to go for the Shadow Ball here, and Shadow Balls are going to do what Shadow Balls do. And he gets a crit, and it does just that much. For a crit, that's barely anything. So this is most likely specially defensive, and he's going to go for the Roar and Roar out, phase his Gengar out, which means substitute was, I guess, a waste of HP. But in most situations, 9 times out of 10, that is the better play to make. So he's gonna go into, he gets roared into Terrakion. He decides to go for the close combat because that is the safer play, because Stone Edge obviously you can miss it. And his Zapdos is gonna go down to the close combat either way, and close combat will basically wreck anything he wants to bring in regardless. So he brings in his Gastrodon here, and now obviously you'd have to switch out, and he decides to switch out into his Landers here. Not quite sure whether he was just trying to bring it in as death fodder, or maybe predicting something like the Earth Power or something. Not quite sure. Either way, that is one dead Landorus because Scald is just going to annihilate it. So down goes his Landorus T. I guess I did its job for the most part. Successful death fodder and the fact that it set up rocks, so it's not really that necessary in the long run. So now he brings in his Scizor, which is aptly named Cleanup, basically a sweeper. And I do believe this thing is banded, I'm not quite sure, because, you know, this isn't my Scizor. And he goes for the superpower here, and that is going to do a pretty decent chunk of damage to this Gastrodon. The Gastrodon goes for the Scald. Now, had he gotten the burn here, that would be pretty big, but he doesn't, and Scizor is able to take that, I guess, kind of well. You know, I don't really know the variations of damage because I don't really do OU that much, but I would say that's pretty good. Decent amount, a workable amount. So Dallas goes for another superpower here. That's why I'm assuming it's banded. Either way, superpower was the best move to go for, banded or not, as his opponent makes it pretty okay play, goes into the Crobat because it can basically take it pretty well. So now he goes into his Gengar here, pretty much as death fodder, but his opponent, she actually goes for the super thing. Not quite sure whether Dallas predicted that, but it's not going to do anything to Gengar, and now Gengar can do what Gengar does, and what Gengar does is usually Shadow Balls to the face. So he is going to be able to Shadow Ball this Gastrodon, and basically it's dead. So Gengar did a pretty good amount of work this game, so should it die here, it doesn't really make a difference. So now he brings in his Thunderous Teeth, and Gengar is going to be able to outspeed it. So it's quite clear, I guess, that the Crobat was a Scarfer as opposed to this one, because it's obviously slower than the Gengar. And he's going to go for the Shadow Ball. That's going to do a really good amount of damage. Not quite able to take it out as his opponent goes for the Volt Switch, but because of the fact that Stealth Rocks are up, that thing is dead the second it switches in. So that's why I was saying that rocks were very important, and they played out pretty well for Dallas. So he goes into his Scizor here as his opponent goes into Crobat, and now here the Bullet Punch is easily going to be able to take out this Crobat, no competition. And I believe his last Pokemon, other than the Thunderous T, which is going to die to Stealth Rocks, is his Politoed. So now here Dallas decides to switch out because obviously he can't really do much, and goes into Rotom. And I do believe Rotom is going to get KO'd by this move. I believe it is HP Grass, and because of the fact of what happens next turn, and I can't speak right now, but I do believe it is HP Grass, so I guess that was a kind of good prediction on his opponent's part. Dallas is just going to go for the close combat here. Not going to be able to take it out. It's going to live on a smidgen of HP. Not quite sure whether that was minimum damage. I'm assuming it is. Or he got a low damage roll because of the fact that this thing does appear to be offensive from its moveset. And the HP Grass is not going to be able to take him out even at -1. So this is going to be another chance for Dallas to right the wrong, and it basically take him out with close combat. And that is pretty much going to be the match, because his next Pokemon is going to be his Thunder's Tea, and that is going to die to Stealth Rocks. So I hope you guys enjoyed the battle. Hope you guys enjoyed my narration style. I know it might be a bit different from Dallas's, but this is the way I usually enjoy doing things. Some people told me I'm a bit too fast, but I don't know, I'm comfortable at this pace, because any slower then I just have to start, you know, filling, laughing awkwardly and stuff like that. Not really interested in doing that. So anyway, that was the battle. As I've said twice, I am very redundant. So if you guys enjoyed my narration style, which I hope you did, be sure to check out my channel. And if you're not subscribed to Dallas and you're somehow seeing this, then I might have to kill you. And the only way you can make it better is by clicking the subscribe button right now, and then I might spare your poor life. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. Rate, comment, and subscribe to Dallas, and I will see you guys hopefully on my channel. Bye.